Okay, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. And my name is Rosado Vargas, for those who doesn't know me. And I'm just excited getting, lectures and reading for everyone so we can implement and try to change this life, just putting seeds of greatness in people's lives. And we're going to start reading and reading more all the time, just in order to achieve this goal of having a successful day by the lecture, by reading. Okay. And today we're going to go with this book that is called The 25 Sales Habits of Highly Successful People from Stephen Schiffman. Okay, let's start with habit number one. It says, if it doesn't work, fix it. In the introduction to this edition, I mentioned the importance of working at something until it becomes ingrained in you. I used the example of getting into the habit of making the same number of prospects calls and first things every morning, no matter what. Clearly, that's a good habit to get into. And however, next 100 or so pages, I'm going to give you more to try. I'm not unmindful of the possibility that you already have a lot of business habits, personal techniques you develop over the years in the way you make calls, prepare presentations, and even make presentations themselves. But not all habits are good. The reality is that if you are reading this book, there's a good chance of something is bothering you, either subconsciously or consciously, about your sales process. Knowing or sensing that something is wrong is easy. Figuring out what it is thought can be difficult. And that's not just true for salespeople. A writer friend of mine regularly regards me with stories about hours he spent working on an article, or more accurately, not working on one. He'll sit in the front of his computer and just stare. Why? He knows something is wrong with the piece. He just doesn't know what it is. So after a while doing a little, if anything, he leaves his word processing program and start to play free cell for whose Mac fanatics, that games that comes with Microsoft Windows. He jokes that he doesn't play a game. No one plays a free cell tournament. Then he turns to his works and read it over from the beginning. In the process, he corrects grammatical mistakes and typos and tries to ascertain what's bothering him, what's wrong with his story. If he still stumped, he goes back and playing games. But this, it's a solitary tournament. I like to think an ambi game, jurist, he jokes. Eventually, of course, he figured out what's wrong, corrects it, and then able to complete his story. My point is, if you think something is wrong in your sales process, then probably it's something wrong. I'm a greater believer in the instinct. But if it is important that you stop to review your process to see if you can figure it out what it is that's out whack, and then fix it. Chances are it's something simple. For example, I need a special product and call a sales rep I knew in London. He wasn't there, but he returned my call. Only this time I was out. He left his name and then hours he'd be in the office, but he didn't leave me his phone number. What is the point of that? I was away from my office and I didn't have his number with me, so I couldn't call him. When I got back from my trip a week later, he played telephone tag for me about 10 days until I gave up and placed the order elsewhere. Another sales rep I know has been leaving the same basic message when making a cold call from 20 years. Pretty much unsuccessful. I'm sure both men are surprised when prospects don't return their calls. Thought one has been using the same approach for 2 decades with little to show for it, and other always assuming that potential customers has his telephone number. To go to another extreme, I know that there's a salespeople who never leave a message. That's the way they can press their individual forever, expecting eventually to get them on the phone. What is the logic of calling someone 20 or 25 times hoping to get on them on the phone? If you're not doing well, if people aren't returning your calls, if you're not getting appointments, if you're not closing sales, well, then you know something is wrong. You have to re-examine how to approach sales process. Figure it out what's wrong and change it. Go step by steps. Examine your cold calls ratios, the questions you ask on the first appointment, the way you prepare presentations. However, the problem isn't always clear cut. All the people I mentioned here, for example, a decent salespeople, they make okay money in other measurements because the other parts of their games work well. If you're getting by, it's easy to overlook the fact that something is holding you back from being a great person and making big money. So I want to go back to my writer's friends. Every time he returns into his computer for a break, even if everything is doing well, he rereads the story. He's working from the beginning. Every time he does that, he finds improvements he can make. Can you do anything less for yourself? I sit down after every presentation, whether I clinch a sale or not, and review what I did step by step to see what I did wrong and to see what I could do better. Of course, I usually give myself high marks and those presentations that led to a signed contract. But even then, I find I made a misstep somewhere along the line. When I when I don't click a sale, there's mistakes galore. Mistakes by themselves don't bother me. But what I look for a pattern of bad behavior, and that's what I look to correct and turn fine. Once a month, I examine all my activity for my previous weeks. How are my cold call ratios? Am I getting through the enough people? Am I getting sufficient number of appointments from the leads I speak to? Are these appointments leading to presentations? Self-examination is not easy. Sometimes you need to bring into a manager to help you the forest for the trees, but it is imperative. I see more and more experienced salespersons come to my class who allow themselves to become comfortable with their bad habits. I always ask them what they would be different, invariable. They scratch their heads and they can come up with an answer. If you are scratching your head and can't stop come up with an answer to what you would do to improve yourself, you are not going to change. And you're actually certainly not going to get better. Okay, my friends, thank you very much for watching today. Today, we just completed chapter number 1 of this book called the 20 Sales Habits for Highly Successful Salespeople. And I invite you to keep doing our lectures. We're going to keep moving forward. My name is Roosevelt Vargas, and anything I can do for you, I'll be very happy to help you out. You don't forget to subscribe, to contact me if you have any questions. Have a great day.